Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about a coin that might be hiding in your pocket change right now, but some people say it could be worth thousands of dollars. Yes, we're talking about the 1978 no-mint Mark Washington quarter from the United States. Now before you get too excited, let's take a slow and simple look at the story behind this coin, its history, how it was made, what makes it special, and why some people think it's worth big money. I'll explain everything in easy words so everyone can understand. The Washington quarter has a long and interesting history. It first came out in 1932 to celebrate the 200th birthday of the first U.S. President, George Washington. The coin was designed by an artist named John Flanagan. On the front side, which we call the obverse, you see the left-facing face of George Washington with the word Liberty written above his head and the words, "In God We Trust," on the left side. The date appears below his neck. On the back, or reverse, you'll see a large eagle standing proudly with wings spread, holding arrows and olive branches. Above the eagle, it says, United States of America, and below, it says, quarter dollar. This design stayed on U.S. quarters for many years and is still one of the most recognized American coin designs ever made. The 1978 no-mint Mark Washington quarter was made at the Philadelphia Mint. You can tell because coins made there don't have a mint mark letter beside Washington's ponytail. If it had a small d, that means it was made in Denver. If it had an s, that means it came from San Francisco. So if your coin has no letter at all, it's from Philadelphia. But here's the thing, these no-mint mark quarters are actually very common because the Philadelphia Mint made over 521 million of them in 1978. That's more than 500 million coins. So for most people, a 1978 quarter without a mint mark is just a regular coin worth 25 cents. Now, let's talk about what this coin is made of and how it looks. The 1978 quarter is made of a copper-nickel combination. The outside layer is nickel, and the inside core is copper. That's why if you look at the edge of your quarter, you'll see a thin brownish stripe that's the copper showing through. The coin weighs about 5.67 grams and is 24.3 millimeters across. All of these details are important because if your coin looks lighter, smaller, or heavier than it should, that might be a sign it was made with an error. And that's where the potential value comes in. A normal 1978 no-mint mark quarter in used or circulated condition is worth only its face value, which is 25 cents. If it's in perfect condition and looks shiny like new, what collectors call uncirculated or mint state, then it might be worth a few dollars, sometimes maybe 10 or 20 if it's graded by a professional coin service like PCGS or NGC. But for it to be worth big money, like hundreds or even thousands of dollars, it needs to have something special about it, like a rare minting error. A minting error happens when something goes wrong during the coin's production. Sometimes these mistakes are small, and sometimes they are big and very noticeable. Let's go through some of the errors that make a 1978 quarter valuable. One common error is called an off-center strike. This means the coin wasn't lined up properly when it was stamped, so part of the design is missing, and the edge might look uneven. A small off-center error might be worth $20 or $30, but a big one, say half the design missing, could be worth $100 or more, especially if the date is still visible. Another rare type of error is called a double strike. That means the coin was hit twice by the stamping machine, sometimes slightly rotated between strikes. This creates a shadow effect, where you can see parts of the design twice. These can be very interesting to collectors, and depending on how clear the double strike is, they can sell for over $100 or $200. There's also something called a wrong planchet error. A planchet is the blank piece of metal that becomes a coin. Sometimes a quarter gets struck on a blank meant for another coin, like a dime or a penny. When this happens, the coin comes out the wrong size or weight, and that makes it quite rare. For example, a 1978 quarter struck on a dime planchet once sold for around $375, while one struck on a nickel planchet sold for about $180. If it's struck on a copper penny planchet, the color will be different, reddish instead of silver, and that could bring as much as $600 depending on condition. Another cool error to look for is a missing clad layer. As we mentioned earlier, the 1978 quarter has an outer layer of nickel over a copper core. Sometimes the nickel layer doesn't get applied correctly or falls off, leaving a copper-colored surface. That's a big minting mistake, and collectors love it. A missing clad layer error can sell for a few $100s or even more in great shape. You might also see coins with a filled or distorted mint mark, but since the no mint mark version doesn't have a letter, this doesn't apply to it. However, people sometimes confuse worn or damaged coins with true mint errors. For example, scratches, dents, or parts of the design that look faint are usually signs of wear, not factory errors. These don't add any value. So why do some people claim that a 1978 no mint mark quarter is worth $5,000? In most cases, that number is an exaggeration or a misunderstanding. It's possible that one or two extremely rare error coins in nearly perfect condition have sold for very high prices, but that's not the norm. Most regular 1978 quarters, even in beautiful condition, won't come anywhere near that amount. The key is to always verify claims with real auction results and professional grading reports. Some websites and videos exaggerate to attract attention, but serious collectors rely on confirmed sales from trusted coin auction sites. If you think you have a special coin, there are a few things you can do. First, handle it carefully by the edges and don't clean it. Cleaning a coin can lower its value. Use a magnifying glass to check for double images, off-center strikes, or missing layers. You can also weigh the coin to see if it's heavier or lighter than normal. If you find something unusual, you can send it to a grading company like PCGS or NGC. They will authenticate it and grade it officially, which can make it much easier to sell for a fair price. It's also a good idea to compare your coin to photos of verified error coins online or in coin collector books. Look at real examples that have sold for money and compare carefully. Remember that some damage that happens after the coin leaves the mint, like scratches, dents, or melting, is not considered an error. Collectors only pay high prices for real minting mistakes, not for damage done later. So the truth is, while the 1978 no mint mark quarter is a cool and historic coin, it's not extremely rare. Most are worth face value, and only those with dramatic mint errors or in top mint condition can reach high prices. But that doesn't mean it's not worth checking your change. You never know when you might find an odd one that turns out to be something special. Even a few $100s is still a nice reward for something you found in your pocket. Coin collecting is a fun hobby that teaches history, design, and patience. Every coin tells a story from the time it was struck to the hands it passed through. The 1978 no mint mark Washington quarter reminds us that even ordinary coins can have hidden surprises. So the next time you get change from the store, take a moment to look closely at your quarters. Maybe, just maybe, you'll spot one with a special twist. Thanks for watching, friends. If you enjoyed learning about the 1978 no mint mark Washington quarter, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more coin videos, and share your stories in the comments. Do you have one of these coins? Have you ever found an error coin? I'd love to hear what treasures you've discovered. Until next time, keep your eyes open and happy coin hunting.